on where we are in the current Brexit process at the time of filming, as things currently stand, the UK left the EU formally at the end of January 2020 and entered into what's known as a transition period. And during this transition period, the idea is that the UK and the EU will come up with a comprehensive trade deal which will come into force from next year. The current immigration system in the UK, pre-Brexit, broadly dictates that nationals from EU member states have the right to come and live and work in the UK under principles of freedom of movement. So there is no requirement for them to obtain any additional immigration permissions and no requirements on you as an employer to do any additional checks on them over and above what you would do for British nationals. For nationals of any non-EU country looking to come into the UK, at present, they are subject to an existing points-based system. And we'll go on to consider that points-based system in detail in a separate chapter. There are various other routes of entry into the UK for work-related purposes. For example, somebody may come in as a business visitor, or they may come in as a representative of an overseas business, but those routes don't predominantly relate to UK-based employers, and therefore we won't consider them in too much detail at this stage. In order to preserve their longer-term rights to continue living and working in the UK, EU nationals and their non-EU family members must make an application under what's known as the EU settlement scheme before the 30th of June 2021. This requirement to make an application under the EU settlement scheme applies both to EU nationals who were already in the UK as at the date of Brexit happening, so as at the end of January 2020, and those EU nationals who moved to the UK during the transition period. So anybody who moves to the UK before the end of December 2020.